Guys, welcome to Intro to Programming, right? So I just want to run a quick video on uh, which IDE to use and then or text editor to use. So first, I'll break down what is an IDE. So this is the term that we're going to hear a lot when you become a developer or when you're in the stages of becoming a developer. So an IDE is an integrated development environment, right? So basically, it's a programming tool that integrates several specialized tools into a cohesive environment. So before we start programming using Python or HTML or CSS, we need a platform where we can run all of the code that we want, a platform where we can write the code where we want to write the code on. So an IDE, it is like specialized tools which may include like your text editor, right? And then a code autocomplete function. That's what I like about the IDEs, especially the Visual Studio Code. And then also it can build procedure that includes compiler, linker, and whatnot, right? And also you get a debugger, like if there's any errors in your code, you can easily pick up any of those errors. A file or project manager, you can get that under an IDE. A performance profiler, a deployment tool, and so on. So there's so much that an IDE can do. And then we have what we call the text editor, right? Like where you find like your notepad, right? So your notepad are just limited to they just allow you to write the code there, right? So they don't have like the capabilities of debugging any errors, and then they don't have any capabilities of autocomplete. So basically, like when I'm starting teaching people how to develop, how to be programmers, right? Especially when I'm starting with the HTML and then the CSS, I start them with the notepad so that they can understand, master the concept, right? Instead of relying on the autocomplete function. So Notepad doesn't have that. So that means that person who's new will master the syntax because there's no autocomplete, right? So and then when like maybe after my second or third classes, then that's when we introduce them to the Visual Studio Code, which is an IDE, which has the capabilities of autocomplete text editor, and then also a build procedure that includes compiler, linker, and then whatnot. And then debugging tool is also included on the Visual Studio Code. So now, when I usually teach people how to develop, this is especially when we're using a notepad, right? Let's say now I'm teaching you to develop a website, right? And then your website consists of pictures and all those things. This is what I start with. First of all, I tell you just to create a folder within your desktop or any location within your desktop, right? So start with a folder. So now I've explained what an IDE is, what a text editor is, and then now we're just trying to create a folder first. I'll tell you why we need the folder, right? So let's create a folder. Let's say this is your project, right? Let's say you're using a notepad, and then this is your project that you want to work on, and then you can say project. Let's say project one, right? Because you're gonna have so many projects. And then let's say that project is maybe it's a website, whatever you're building, and then it must come with pictures, right? That it must have pictures within it. So what you do is I usually tell people to just copy those pictures, add them to your folder. So this is the folder that we're going to use, right? And then within this folder, what I do is, so here's the reason why we're adding the source code and then the pictures all within the same folder. So what we're going to be doing is relative referencing, right, within the source code, meaning that we're going to be writing exactly the name of the picture, not the path, right? Because the source code and the pictures are in the same folder. So there's no need for me to specify the entire folder. Sorry, there's no need for me to specify the entire path because they are all in the same folder. So what I'll be doing is I'll be just using the name pg4 of the picture. But if now these pictures are on a different folder from the source code, let's say the source code is on this folder and then the pictures maybe on this folder, then I have to specify the path and then the name of the picture because they are not in the same folder with the source code. So that's the difference with that, right? So now I need to add a source code here. So I'm going to use a notepad, right? This is the text editor that I'm using to build my website. let's say maybe you don't have like time to download a Visual Studio Code or whatever the reasons may be. So now I'm going to rely on the Notepad. Maybe you are in my class and then you're doing your first and second classes, then first and second lesson. That means you're going to be using Notepad. So this is what you do. We're looking for a Notepad text editor, right? So I want a text editor, right? So you see I have a text editor there. So what I do is I need to name this and then save it as an HTML file, right? So let me just rename that. Well, if I know how to rename a full file, okay, let's say rename there. Let's say project and then .html. So you see now we're saving this. The extension is important, right? So it tells the browser, tells the system that this is an HTML file. So the extension is very important. So you can save it as project.html or whatever name that you want, but make sure that in the end the extension is .html, right? So you can see, okay, let me do this. Let me close that and then come here. There is a part somewhere here on Windows 10. That's if you're using Windows 10. Where's that part? Where's view? And then it says file name extension. Click on that part. So you see here there is a mistake now because it says project.html.txt. So I gotta change that. I have to remove the txt and then just leave it as HTML. So there it is. Say yes. So you see now your file changes now. It means that now you can only the browser can open this, right? So if I double click it, that means the browser is the one that's going to open this file. So this is a text editor, right? Sorry, this is how you save your file when you're using the Notepad. So now let's say I've saved it like this. So now how do I open it? I'm sure if you are taking this class, that means you already know how to open use a device. Sorry, you know how to use your laptop, right? Okay, let me quickly do this. Okay, so now we want to edit that, right? So say right click and then open with, so when I open with Notepad, so let's say now you want to edit that document, right? Let's say Notepad, so there's your file, right? And then so when you are programming using HTML, right, what you do is you just need the basics for the HTML. Let me quickly copy that. I don't have time to type out the entire structure of the HTML. Let me say code writer. So I have code writer, which is another text editor. Okay, I will come and show you how to use this one, right? So what I'm looking for here, I just want to copy the HTML. I just want this part, right? Control C, say Control V there, right? So you've typed in, this is your HTML source code, right? Let's say my project there. Let's say project, and then within the body, let's type in there maybe say H1. Welcome to HTML class. So opening tag and then closing tag. Okay, now I'm just introducing the text editors and then the IDEs. So this part I will explain to you later. And then let's say you have made some changes to that notepad, right, to your source code. What you need to do is you also have to save that, right? Then you can close that if you want to. So now what you can do is you can double click this to open it with your browser. So once you save it .html, it will pick up the default browser. So sometimes it might pick up your Internet Explorer. It might pick up your this new one here, which is Microsoft Edge, and then we also can pick up your Firefox, Mozilla, any default browser that you're using there, it will pick it up, right? So it will be the one that opens this file. So my default browser here is Chrome. So you can see it changed to Chrome, right? So when I want to open this, you know how to open a file. So just right click, open it. You see there it says welcome to HTML. So if I want now to change, edit this information that's inside the source code, if I want to edit the source code, what you need to do is basically you just right click that part and then just say open with, and then Notepad, you edit the information there, and then maybe you want to add some more information there. Let's say P, let's say I love HTML, and then once you make some changes in there, you need to save those changes, right? And then I close that. Let's So you can see there is those changes there. So that's the notepad, right? So that's the notepad. That's how you do it when using a notepad. So again, now if you want to add these pictures to your source code, what you need to do is just, you don't have to specify the entire path, right? So you just type in the name of the picture, and then it will be on that source code. And then once you click the browser, or you double click this and open via the browser, you will see your pictures also appearing on the source code. Sorry, on the interface or whatever that you've typed out. Okay, so now I need some more information here. Let me open okay, let me show you the code editor now. So this is the code editor, right? The one that I just opened. You can download this via Microsoft platform, or any, even on Chrome, Google, you can download this. So this is your another code editor, the text editor. Of what I like about these, the problem with this one now, this text editor, it doesn't have autocomplete. So it doesn't have the debugging tool. It doesn't have the performance profiler or deployment tool. It doesn't have a code autocomplete function. So it's similar to the Notepad. So it's a text editor, right? So there it is. And then let's say now you want to open a new file, right? Like this is, you've just downloaded code editor, and then there are no new files here. You can click here on this part here. You see, just click there. It will show you the Explore part, and then says new. And then you see, supports all of these languages. So if you want HTML, there's HTML. Let's say I want CSS. You'll see there's my CSS there. It's already started there. So there is CSS, right? And then if you want any language, you find all the languages are supported. If I want Python, where is Python? There is Python. So it gives you all of the languages. And then the other thing that I like about this one, it doesn't chow much of your RAM, right? This is a light software, like similar to a notepad, that it doesn't affect the performance of your system that much, unlike the other text editors, right? So all of these languages are here, right? So when it comes to languages, you can see we have all these languages. When it comes to languages, it depends with what type of developer do you want to be, right? So if you want to be a web developer, so these are the ones that you programming languages that you have to start with, is going to be your HTML, and then your CSS, and then maybe after that you have, where's the JavaScript? There's the JavaScript, right? So if you want to be a web developer, those are the languages that you have to start with, right? So it depends what type of a developer do you want to be. And then we have Python there, of which Python, there's so many things that we can do with Python, right? So there's so many you can do with Python. You can be under the AI and machine learning, develop things like that, and then also develop data analytics, data visualization, programming applications. With Python, you can also do web development, game development, language development, and then finance, like all of those things, right, that you can do with the Python. And then Perl, you can use Perl for automation. So it depends what type of a programmer do you want to be, right? So it's all about your preference. What type of a developer do you want to be? All right. So as we're talking about the text editors, this is the other one, right? Which is the code writer. And then there's another one. Where's Sublime? I think I do have Sublime somewhere here. I have Sublime. Um, and then I also have this Visual Studio Code. Okay, there Sublime is open. So as you can see down here is my code, right? I have Sublime open. So with Sublime, also you can use the Sublime. For example, if you want to start a new file, you can click there. It says a new file, and then like you can also do a lot with the Sublime. Open a new file if you want to open a new file. Let's say you want to Control V, right? You can see now I have my my HTML code there. So Sublime is also now an IDE. So most people you see that they prefer using the Sublime, right? And then I don't need to pay. Okay, unregistered. So you see I'm using a free Sublime software. And then there are some that will require you to subscribe to get some maybe certain features that we don't that are not there on the free version. And then here is my Visual Studio Code. This is the one that I usually prefer, the one that I use a lot, right? So this is an IDE. It comes with the debugging part. You can debug. It does have like the, let's say now file, and then I say file. I want a new file, right? You can see it said select a language. So you can select a language that you want to use. I want to use HTML. There is HTML, right? And then let me say Control V, copy that code. You can see it has done that. So when you go to new file to file and then say new file, it will ask you what language are you gonna use, because it supports all of the languages, right? You can program using CSS, C++, all those languages, right, within the Visual Studio Code. But you have to first choose what language are you going to be programming with. Like for example, say select language, and then I say okay CSS, and then there's a platform for CSS, right? And then also when you want to save this document, um, let's say file, I'm on this one, right? There you say file, and then down here you say save, then you can save. So I want to save it to that folder, the one that I just created now, which is the project, right? So I say I want to save it there, and then I want to save it as, remember that you have to say project one dot html, right? So you can see now it changes the name there at the top there. So untitled, that means we haven't given the name to that. And then net one, there is my source code, all of those. All right, so that is the Visual Studio Code, and then this is the Sublime for you, right? So let me see what I have on lesson 2 there, nothing. And then let's say file, let's say you can see, okay, there is that one. All right, there is the Sublime text editor, and then down here we have your, so Sublime, Visual Studio Code, code writer, and then also you have the Notepad. So those are text editors that you can use to develop anything, right? There are so many. It's just like I just mentioned a few, and then but there are so many that you can use.